In this episode, we are sitting down with Luana. She is the creator of Vanity Lashes. Not only is it an eyelash business, but she also does wholesale and education for other lash technicians as well. So we'll jump into the episode.
So we weren't even sure if you were going to make it this week. So slight spoiler alert, Luana was just about to open up her first retail store. Now, she's worked retail a long time, but it's in some shared spaces. But she was going to do her first shop. And during the fit-out stage, they literally just laid the floor, and I think you were saying in the ballpark of like a $10,000 flooring had been put down. And then because we are in the West, the shop next to her got firebombed.
Yes.
And so obviously some stress was associated with that. But maybe before we get into that, because that's a story in itself, maybe if you could just give us a history of how you first started doing lashes.
Yes, of course. I'm alive. I'm here. Thank you. So how I started Vanity. I started Vanity in 2017. I did an independent eyelash business course. After I did that, I walked into debating whether I should leave my corporate role and focus all in, or if I should just bite the bullet and take the risk. So in 2017, I did an independent eyelash course. I went off to opening up Vanity Lash Room in 2018, right at the beginning, at my grandma's second living room. So it was a bit of a challenge. I thought it was a bit dodge, but the great thing about eyelash extensions is that it's a growing industry and it's up for grabs. And no one within my area even specialized in eyelash extensions, or even the beauticians, they didn't offer it. So it was such a new service. So in 2018, I stuck to it, working both jobs, my corporate role and then lashing on the side as well. But I was just like, it's such a new industry and it's up for grabs. No one offers this service. Like I could just see a tunnel vision of just like money and a huge market for girls, because like even like when we were in lockdown, the most requested service that everyone wanted back was beauty. So it's just the beauty industry is just such a booming industry, and there was like a big gap. It was a service that no one knew about. So in mid 2018, I just bit the bullet. I quit my corporate role and I went all in with lashing. So I just kept trying my hardest to perfect my art, understand pricing points, and then even just understanding how I can perfect this art and how I could grow it. So at this time, I was like, there's only one thing I can do, which is the service. But I was so wrong. I could go into education. I could teach other people. I could start selling products, and then I could even start wholesaling. So that's 4 different sectors that I can get revenue from. So in 2018, when I was still working from home, it's still a bit hard because people are like, oh, what is this service? I only see people get this service and they get like a chemical burn and a reaction. There was so much stigma that eyelash extensions ruined a natural lash. So I still had to kind of bring to my area like, hey guys, no, I know how to do this service and it's new. So I ended up contracting to different businesses, like even like my local Westfields. I asked like, hey, do you want a lash technician? And they were like, yeah, sweet. So I would literally sit, oh my gosh, I still remember this so clearly. I would literally sit in a laser clinic on a Thursday, 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. and just wait for someone to be like, oh yeah, I'll pop in. Like there was like 3 weeks in a row, I had one client each day. And like, of course my head's like, okay, go back to the corporate role, go back. But I was like, no, like I know it's there. I just got to keep trying. Like I just got to put, like I've already left, and with me as well, it's probably a toxic trait. I'm a bit stubborn. If I know I'm going to do something, I've got to do it 110%. And I purposely gave myself no safety net. I had no option B. I didn't have a casual job. I was just like, this is it. This is what's got to work.
So Burn the boats.
Yeah, certainly. All right, so let's backtrack a little bit.
Yeah.
So you started in a living room of your grandma's.
Yes.
How are you advertising this service, especially because it's considered a risky service? People are worried about their eyelashes being burnt.
Yes.
Yep. And so how do you start advertising that? Because obviously like now this is like if you get like a laser clinic, you're like, oh, it needs to be in a clinic. Like, do you know what I mean? Like it's, I guess the level of professionalism that would be required kind of speaks to the quality and reducing risk. So I guess whenever there's a risk in the skill that you're doing, it makes it even harder to advertise inside, like, I guess, a living room essentially. So what avenues were you looking to advertise in, and were you showing before and afters? Were you doing it on yourself or doing it on your sister, and did you use that to then market? How did it kind of look at the stage when you're in your grandma's living room?
Yeah, so obviously that was really important. But do you know what? At the time, Instagram was popping off. So I don't necessarily, back in 2017, like Facebook was still there, but like I just feel like 17-year-old girls weren't on Facebook anymore. They were on like Instagram or even like Snapchat.
Yep.
So I actually did Snapchat, oh my gosh. But like
Yeah,
I
yeah.
even like advertised heaps on Snapchat. Like I was just recording my before and afters. I was posting on Instagram. I was very loud within my area. I offered to go to all my local hairdressers to drop my business cards in. I even collabed with like a skin clinic. I was like, yeah, I'll rent your room. Her price was like up the roof, but I was like, yeah, I'll do it. I will do it just to get my name out there. A lot of Instagram marketing, but see, like even back then, like there wasn't even boomerangs. It was just like pic collage before, after, and I was just very loud. I tried to do so many giveaways. Giveaways were really good back then. So like even the most random businesses I was doing collabs with, like I did this one giveaway and it actually got me so many followers, but it was with a balloon hire company. It was with a skin clinic. And a dog biscuit treat. They literally specialize in dog biscuits. But I was like, yeah, they're local. Let's collab. And we were
Wow.
just like doing multiple different collaborations to just like get all these local businesses out there and to just show like, hey, I'm in the area. I'm new. This is what I do. So like looking back, I obviously was posting on Facebook, but like all of the younger group that I thought was my target at the time, it was just Instagram, and that's all I was doing. I don't even know if there was paid ads back then, but I didn't do any paid ads because
massive, yeah.
that would cost me money. Oh no, back then.
So, like your personal brand is being, or your personal reputation, kind of the same thing, is being put at risk though. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think a lot of small business owners, they don't step out and market because they're like, what, how do I look to everyone else? But you're doing collabs with dog biscuit brands and balloon hire places. So how is it that you don't have that feeling that you're ruining self-reputation by putting yourself out there loudly, as you said?
Well, I didn't really remember at the point, it was make or break. I didn't have the safety net. Like if I could get my name out there, I would do it. If I could just collab with anyone, if I could like get someone's sister in, yeah, sure, I'll do you half price. I just needed to be loud and just get it out there. And I literally did whatever it took. Like I contracted to multiple businesses. I made sure that I took a photo of everything. I edited everything, and I was just trying to post. And I wasn't really scared about my reputation or just the stigma that eyelash extension, the negative one that eyelash extensions had, because I was like, if I'm out there showing people, hey, this is real, I'm getting real people in, like, yeah, I'm at home, but I'm real, it would still work. I just had to be loud. I just had to be confident. And everyone that came in the door, I just had to make sure that I consulted them to a T. I showed them, you want this? I can do this. You won't get this because of this. I just had to make sure that I communicated and I was confident. Without confidence these days, I don't really think that you can sell anything, especially if you're like timid towards your brand as well. It's not going to work. You can't expect someone to buy off you if you're like, yeah, it's good. Yeah, try it. You need to like sell your confidence with the product as well. And that's what we did. We just tried our hardest to do that.
And so something in, I guess, selling with confidence, what I've experienced, like in the times that we've talked, you're quite transparent. And I think sometimes when you offer transparency, you are laying all your cards on the deck, and it allows you to be confident because you're like, well, I'm not trying to hide anything. I'm giving you everything right before you. So whether you take it or not now is up to you, but I'm not going to fail in this sale because I've, held my cards close to my chest type thing. Yeah. So I think the transparency it does allow you to be confident. It's something that I often use in like business negotiations as well. And it stands out to people because they're like, why is this guy like telling me everything? And it's just like, well, because I'm good without you, but I'm just going to tell you exactly, how it looks. And then you can make an educated decision. And then you kind of don't deal with all that buyer's regret later on. And it helps you actually maintain a reputation, which is something that, seemingly you were risking at the start. So I think through transparency, you can gain confidence. And then when you don't have a whole bunch of people that are regretful from dealing with you because you were so open about it, you gain a reputation off the back of it. So it's so funny that transparency actually translates later to reputation, which I think has been like very evident with you when we've been speaking. You're just like, this is my business. This is the numbers that we're doing. This is exactly how I went from this stage to this stage. And I don't care who knows. And I think it's really refreshing. So many small business owners like, I don't want to give away the secrets. I don't want to give away the secrets. And we find this in our marketing as well. We often refer to Cassandra's because we've been putting some decent runs on the board with her socials, and she'll like go over her recipes and just give them to the public through the social media, and they're going nuts. And I think just overnight, with Pole's Patisserie, which is another like small business, they showed exactly how they make a vanilla slice. And obviously, there's some sort of like, I guess, aspect to it where it's like some people are going to say, "Oh, this is overly commercialized," or "You didn't make the custard from scratch," or whatever. And they are like the negative talking points that you might have. But they went and achieved like 1 million views like over the week, and it's just like, why isn't every other pastry, like small pastry business, able to do this? And it's like, because they're being transparent when others don't want to be. So I think it's like, it sounds like a small thing, but, and you probably know like how important it is, but it's something that often small business owners lean away from. They don't want the transparency. And sometimes it's because their product's not good enough, or their service is not good enough, or they're charging too much. And that's where you don't want to be transparent. But I feel like if you've got a good product and you're offering it at a reasonable price and you offer transparency, I feel like there's some of the key things to actually like put runs on the board. But back to you. So you left a corporate job. Did you want to give us an idea of like what corporate job and potentially how much you were earning? Like if you want to. Only because I feel like people like, I feel like some people will be like, "Oh, she's probably working part-time and she's giving up $400 a week to go chase her dreams." It's like, no. Like, not only am I going to buy product, and you said no, you hadn't seen anyone in Australia yet, or anyone in Sydney or Western Sydney?
Western Sydney. Yeah.
And so you've got to go buy a product. No one in Western Sydney has done this business yet. You're leaving a corporate job. You're going and contacting other businesses, hoping that like they're going to say yes. There's like a lot of risk involved. So how did it kind of look from the corporate job? Potentially, if you would like to talk about numbers, so we know what you're sort of like really giving up in hope of chasing this sort of dream.
Yeah, so in 2017, when did I even graduate? So when I graduated school, I was a non-ATAR student. So I only did like the TAFE pathways to be still able to graduate. So I did a couple certificates in business. So it was easy for me to get a corporate role. So I got a corporate role and I worked my way up from apprentice, and I worked my way up to just standard, what was it? I think it was a sales role. And like some people thrive in working in a corporate role, but it just wasn't it for me. It's not that I couldn't sit in front of a computer all day. I probably spend more time in front of a computer now that I work for myself. But I just couldn't connect with it. I guess like it was such a day-to-day routine. Sit there, look at the computer, go home, and then nothing else was going for me. And I was stuck on a salary. Salaries are great. Some people thrive on salaries. For me, no. So when I started in that role, everyone was saying I was crazy for going out on my own because I was giving up such a good job. But back in 2017, earning 50K a year, like that wasn't it for me. That was like, I think that was only like 800 after tax. And like,
How old were you then?
I was 18.
Yeah, with $1,000 a week, like it probably would have been considered quite a big jump up.
Yeah. But people like, and it's a full-time role and you can go out to be a sales rep. And I'm like, I don't want to go out there and sell steel to tradies. like, oh, but we can get you a company car. We'll contribute to the company car. But the company car I want, you won't give it to me. You won't give me the car I want. Like, everyone thought I was crazy for going out on my own. And like, everyone around you that cares about you will obviously give their input. But when I started and I gave that up, I just could not believe that extensions was an industry that wasn't necessarily like booming out there. And so when I saw the gap, I was like, all right, make or break, I don't care. The second that I did my course and I knew how much money that I could make off a client, it was a no-brainer. It was, okay, I know where I'm going to sell my price point. I know where I'm going to move forward. And I know that there's multiple sectors that I can make a revenue from. It's not limited. So even people that offer the service now, they still only think, yeah, I'll sling lashes from home and we'll just see where it goes. Like, no, like I had it by the year what I was going to do. And I made sure that like every time that I did something that was great, even when it happened, I was like, it wasn't a moment when I was like, oh, yes, like I did it. It was like, all right, move on next. What's next? Come on, move forward. Like it's even now like moving into a commercial space. Like our commercial space is way bigger than what we need. It's a 200 square meter commercial space. I had to rip it apart, renovate it from scratch and just spend so much money on making it look pretty for all these girls to come in. But even doing that, like the reason why it doesn't faze me on how much I'm spending in is because I know that my services and everything I offer can back it up because I've got the multiple sectors to work with. So I guess returning back to your question, like leaving that corporate role, it was very easy for me, but I cannot explain, and I'm sure you've been in this position before, being in a situation where you've got no safety net makes you work crazy. And even though no matter how much money that I have now, like I will still work like I'm on $800 a week because that's what helps me grow. That's what makes me feel like, okay, I need to keep moving forward because I remember where I was. And I don't mean it in like a humble beginnings type of thing. Like I remember like
You remember the stress of where you were.
the stress, like my husband and I shared a car, like we still lived from home until we can like afford a mortgage. Like being in that position, like I loved it and I was happy, but I was like, nah, like there's so much more up for grabs and I know I can make it. I just got to find all these different sectors to get there.
So that's a real interesting point. So you were saying you jumped out and there wasn't a safety net. So and not to like say, well, there was a safety net that you were still living at home though.
Yeah, so actually no, I was already out by then. Yeah, I was already out
okay.
because I remember.
Because I was about to say we started a business when I was still at home, and I felt safe enough that it was at least going to be a roof type thing.
No,
we're going to be burning money.
no.
Okay, yeah. So this.
No, we were already
really-
out by then. We were already out by then. And like when I'm talking about no safety, like there was literally nothing I can fall back on. Like what money? Like, do you know what I'm like? Where's the money at? Like there was no money. I just knew that it had to work because I had a mortgage to pay too. And do you know what? Fun fact.
A mortgage as well.
Yes. Fun fact.
The hell?
It's not like you can just leave if you can't make rent.
Yeah, like the amount of like pressure that I had, like it stressed me out, but like the motivation that I had to work towards my business to make it work was like unreal. Like even though now we're a bit more obviously more comfortable, like anyone can do my job for me now. Like I've got a team of 6 that can do it for me. But like I still remember being in that position and it just still makes me think like, hey, yeah, we got to keep working. We got to keep moving forward. But fun fact, actually, so when I left my corporate role and I didn't pick up any other job or anything like that, a casual role popped up at F45, right? And they were like to me, yeah, we'll do admin. You can do the admin for this. And I was like, oh yeah, I got the safety net. So I did all my applications and things like that. And then on the day that I was getting this job, they said, no, don't worry about it. And that is the day that I got my first mortgage payment taken out of my account.
Ugh.
So whatever safety net I had, bye-bye. It never happened.
Wow.
There was never a net for me to fall in, but I'm grateful for it. I wish I still kind of worked a bit harder like that now, but I can relax a little bit now that we've got like policies, procedures.
Seasonal,
We've got everything running now, but it was just crazy. Like being in that position, it's like everyone still thinks I'm crazy, but well, it worked.
So maybe just to like let people know as well, when you're moving into an emerging market, because this is certainly not established, there is like another level of risk that's involved. So if you're, looking at like the Penrith market, there might have been 3 or 4 supplement stores before we moved in.
Yes.
And so we had the luxury of seeing what people were doing wrong and seeing what we could do better in order to compete. But when you're going into a non-established market, an emerging market, and you're one of the first people, one of the things that you don't know is how many competitors are going to be following you and soon after. So that you lay out the blueprint, this is how you do it. Everyone's watching you put runs on the board because Western Sydney is a small space really. Yeah. And you don't know how many of them are going to go and follow and say, okay, well, I'm going to do this business too. So it's more like there's more risk because it's unknown. There is potentially more reward because you are one of the first. But if you're one of the first and you don't do it well, someone can still capture the market and do it better and kind of allow you to take the risk and see what you've done. I think that there's a decent level of risk when you're moving into an emerging market, but there is, as I said, the potential reward if you can get your name out there first, which I don't know if you would have known that going through the process, but this is exactly what she was describing, like contacting so many businesses just to get her name out there in an emerging market. That's so important. So yeah, there's even an extra layer of risk just being one of the first in the space. Mm-hmm. Now, you were one of the first in the space, but then you also started teaching other people how to do lashes. Now, I wouldn't have thought that's a natural thought process for someone that's taken on a bunch of risks to go out and do their thing. They're finally putting runs on the board. They're getting clients. They're making money. Now you're going to start teaching your competitors. Can you speak to us about how that came about? Why did you not see that as a risk? Were you just looking at the dollars that came from the education side of things? Or did you just not care that they were going to be competitors because you are that good?
Yeah, so it's funny how you say competitor because to this day, I still have never thought of a student that I am teaching as a competitor for multiple reasons. When they come into my doors and I teach them the art, our industry is still up for grabs. There is so much unknown. Anyone can make their mark. They just got to know how to run a business. So I don't necessarily see anyone as a competitor because there are multiple different ways that they will continue to use my business when they are a student. So first of all, they're a student. They're going to take my course. In a year's time, they may do a mentoring course with me. So they're going to come visit my business again. They might even trust me so much now that they want me to be their lash tech. Now they're using my services. Then maybe along the line when they're practicing, they're trying to get clients in, they're going to use my product. And then 2 years later down the line, when they niche down and perfect eyelash extensions, they're then going to want a wholesale account because their team is so big or they can't control their stock. So now they want to order in bigger quantities. So that then has just given me 4 different ways that I've gotten revenue out of one person. So I haven't necessarily ever thought them as competitors because even if I haven't taught them, at one point, they will always use my business. Someone's going to forget a glue. Someone's not going to know how to isolate and they want someone to teach them. There's so many different ways that I can help one person. So I haven't necessarily really thought of them as competitors.
So just to sort of frame that up for people, I don't know what happens next in Luana's life, but what she's describing there is so like pivotal. So there have been many brands that have established themselves, especially in the beauty space. And one of the core components to their success was they fostered the customer journey. And so putting their products inside hairdressers, getting the hairdressers to start using the products, but also offering educational courses, weekend courses of how to use these products more efficiently, and then giving essentially discounts to the hairdressers in order to use those products in their salons or studios. They made money off the education side of things. They made money off the referrals because now if they set up like an affiliate program for them to tell other hairdressers about the discount code that they can kind of use and get like, cheaper materials. And then the customers are using those products in the process as well. And like this line of thinking about how do we foster customers, how do we increase the lifetime value of customers by offering multiple services to them. It's like one of the big business concepts. Like it's crazy that you're in a small space having these thought patterns because like this is the conversations that big businesses have. How do we increase lifetime value? So we talked about lifetime value in another podcast. Essentially, it's how much profit that you're going to make off a given customer. So that has to do with obviously how much profit does the product or service have? How many times are they likely to purchase over the lifespan? And you can look at the frequency of purchase inside that calculation as well, which sounds similar, but it is a little bit different. And so how many times are they buying and how long are they buying for? And so obviously by creating multiple different avenues, you are increasing lifetime value. But the way in which you do it can also breed loyalty. And so you actually can increase your brand's presence by having these like raving fans that are also increasing lifetime value for you. It's a really interesting space, and we'll probably get into it a little bit later, but it's the kind of core components that you want inside like a franchise model because it's very replicatable, but you're at multiple levels increasing the lifetime value of customers. One of the charities that we're working with, one of the issues that they were facing was they had an aging donor base. So they hadn't done marketing or effective marketing for like a long time. And so the age of their donor kept increasing, and it was like well into retirement years. And one of the things that we talked to them about was the fact that they needed to connect with a younger audience. So as soon as they could start getting donors at an earlier age, the average lifetime value could then be extended. And it's exactly what you're talking about. These are like potentially lash technicians that are coming in and probably at a younger age because they're in need of education and probably in need of mentorship, which is another like service that you're talking about. But then it's also, they're the ones that are going to most resonate with the younger customer base that they're going to adopt as well. So as you turn 30 and 35 and 40, it will be harder for you to resonate with those 20-year-olds. But not if you have mentorship and an educational side to your business. It's those people that will then connect with that younger audience. So the sustainability of your business is also increasing because you're increasing the lifetime value, but you're doing it at multiple layers. It's like, it's such a big thing. I don't know if you've ever thought about it in that depth, but I'm assuming you have, given the way that you've laid it out. It's actually like really impressive. And especially for a business that I would potentially consider, only because I've never got my lashes done, it could be a service that isn't as popular in the future. That's how you would generally consider something like that. Or some sort of technological advancement could make the process more simple. Maybe the stick-on ones get even easier to do. But when you're involved in the educational process and you're connecting with those younger customer bases, you're positioned to also dynamically respond if there is a change like that as well. Because you like the age span that you're covering will mean that your ear is that close to the ground. So it's super interesting. Like it's a business that I would have looked at and gone, this is like a time frame thing.
A fad, yeah.
Yeah, and it could be a 10-year fad, but I actually think the way that you're positioned, it doesn't matter. Like Vanity Lashes can become Vanity Beauty or whatever it may be, and the way that you're setting up your business is certainly sustainable. So it's like a massive props to you, because like it's something I would have looked at, but I don't have much market context, obviously, and I would have gone, I don't know if that's something I would invest in, because it's a time frame game, in my opinion, and I could be wrong. But the way that you're running your business, it's certainly investable, because the approach you're taking is like, it's a high level of thinking. You don't usually get that in a small business space. So like massive props to you on that one.
Thank you.
So maybe we go back to your journey of how you went from your grandma's and then you opened up in your own house.
Yes,
Yep.
I did.
And then you moved into a shared space. I think that's probably the next large growth area of your business.
Yeah, pretty much. So like so the reason why I moved out of my grandma's house was because when the first COVID hit. So when the first COVID hit, I didn't want anyone around my grandma. So I was like, okay, suck it up. We're going to just chuck everyone into our house. We got a granny flat. We renovated it. We made it Vanity Lash Room, and we could fit 2 beds in there. So that's when I then started looking at an employee. So when I got my first employee, everything was sweet. Everything was rolling. We were doing great. I was working, she was working, and then I got a third one too. So I didn't have to be in there anymore. But then just as things were going sweet as pie, in the background, we were looking at producing Vanity Lash Room supplies. So we spent 2 years, so 2018 to 2020, we spent so much money and so much time talking to suppliers in Korea, Pakistan, China, trying to perfect a product that we knew that would be the most comfortable around the eyelash area, and it would also stay and be sustainable. So just as we were rolling well, 2 employees, about to launch our e-commerce website, we get hit with the first COVID. So that was a big punch to me, because I guess that was the first big moment, and I was like, oh no, I don't think we can do this one. Like, if something's going to break me, she's here now. It's going to break. Because we had run down our business to the last $10,000 to put all our effort, all our money, all our time into producing Vanity Lash Room supplies. So when we had everything ready to go, and I'm sure you can relate to this as well, things come with expiry dates. Mm-hmm. Okay. So when we're in COVID, I'm like, do we launch? I legally can't work right now. Everything's exactly what happened to you. Everything's labeled, everything's date stamped, everything expires in a certain amount of time. And I was like, hold on, Queensland is still working at the moment, because remember, Melbourne and Sydney had really crazy restrictions in the first 2020 COVID. Mm-hmm. I think it was like March to June maybe. We weren't allowed to do anything, but Queensland beauticians could still work. So I just launched it. I was like, I barely have, you know how you can check your Instagram insights? I was like, great, I've only got 22% in Queensland, but you know what, roll with it. What can go wrong? It's either it's going to sit here and expire, or it's just going to be online. So we did the website, we launched the product, and I could not believe how much revenue we got from just one state. It was crazy. I just kept thinking, and the reason why it popped off though, here's the thing. When we launched and only Queensland could buy, remember, everyone's in lockdown, everyone's on their phones, and everyone is eyeing out Queensland. They're like, why can these guys go out and walk and they can still work? Everyone's looking at Queenslanders right now. Everyone's stalking their pages, looking at everything, and everyone's like, oh, that's a Vanity Lash, or she's using Vanity Lash. I've never heard of that before. Click on the link. Oh, this girl's new. She's in Sydney. Purchase, purchase, purchase. So because everyone was eyeing out Queensland, and I had so many suppliers from Queensland that were just popping in, because even back then, to get like actual supplies, you had to go overseas, or I think there's only one actual warehouse in Queensland that does eyelash supplies, but because they were a big unit, they had to shut down and only one person could dispatch for essential workers only, because you know how they had the radius and
Yeah.
everything. So like they couldn't pump out their orders fast enough. And then there's little old me in Sydney. I'll whip it out from my backyard and I can still go to the post. So everyone was eyeing out all these Queenslanders that were using my products, and then people from everywhere all over Australia were purchasing ready for lockdown to be over. So when the online launched, I was just like, yes, this is working. This is what's happening. And then when we got out of COVID, everything started to go a bit better. Everything rolled pretty well. We added on another employee, and then in 2020, at the end of 2020, I was like, okay, I'm ready for something crazy. So I looked at getting a bigger space.
Oh, so this is right when lockdown was going to finish. It was going to open up.
Yes.
You're preparing for that.
Yeah. So
Because I remember like hairdressers were getting booked out 14, 16 hours a day type thing. Yep.
Yes, it was crazy. And like our books are flooded, and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to look for a commercial space with $10,000 in my account. Nah, I was like, let's keep looking for a commercial space. And I don't even know how I got into it, but I had contracted from the people, the hairdressers and the cosmetic clinic in this space. And I was like, oh, they've got 6 rooms available. I was like, all right, I'm just going to go see how it's going. I went in, looked at it, and I was like, done. That same week, signed the contract, paid the bond, did the rent, renovated it. 3 weeks time, we were in.
Slow mover.
So we just went all in, decorated the rooms with whatever we could find. I'm pretty sure all our stuff came from IKEA and Kmart, but we made it work. And then I had 3 employees still going strong, and that's what then carried us to where we are now. So it was...
And so willing to take the extra employees in because you had booked work.
Yes, because everyone was going mental. And also because like even coming into Penrith, like at the time there was 14 places that at least had one technician or that were offering eyelash extensions.
So 2018, no one. 2020, how many?
There was 14, but not including, I don't know if there were any in the shopping center. I didn't look at the shopping center, but I was like, I'm in my own little territory. I've got like one person around me, but I was literally going into all these people around me. But I didn't care. I just knew what I had to bring to the table. I knew the quality and I knew my product back to front because I had manufactured it and I knew the ins and outs, and my team were really good with communicating that to clients too.
Good.
So even just moving into that bigger commercial space, the shared space, the reason why I did it, because it was a low risk for my business. Like it was just a complete no-brainer. I knew that if we were in lockdown if lockdown were to happen again, we would be in 12 months of lockdown. I could afford the rent with my eyes closed. It was a low risk for my business. So that's why I just jumped into it so quickly.
But a massive help to them because they were also feeling the pinch of
Yes.
COVID as well. So awesome opportunity. But the thing is, the only reason you're able to execute on these opportunities is because you are in business and you did take the risk. It's so funny that you said 14 people ended up following you through, because that's exactly what I'm talking about in an emerging market. If I would have told you 14 people were going to be doing it in 6 months' time, you may have still done it, but a lot of people, I don't think they would. It's because like competition scares people, and just the very fact that you said, often you go and educate like potential competition, you just don't even see it that way. And I think it's a really good lesson. It's just like there's always going to be competition in business. Like don't get into business if you don't think there's going to be competition. And we're in a capitalist society. Like the best will win, and we have the best in front of us today. So when you were sourcing materials from other countries, you kind of glossed over that, but I imagine this is you putting up real dollars just for the chance to experiment with a new supplier. Was that a drawn out process? Did it happen quicker than you think? Are you able to talk dollars? Like how much did you risk in trying to find the lashes that you eventually found?
Yeah, so like it's actually really crazy because like the Chinese and Korean market, they're so weird. Like for example, if there was a supplier in Sydney that had the quality that I wanted, they'll be like, no, she's my favorite customer. Cannot serve you, dear.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So like they're really weird like that. But I didn't care. I just kept like sourcing different products and trying to find the one quality that I wanted. So the one specific quality that I wanted was a PBT material, because that material is the darkest black eyelash that you can find on the market. So I know I'm getting a bit technical, but that's exactly what I wanted. It was very hard to find. So the thing is, and I'm sure everyone's experienced this that's gone into products and things like that, it doesn't matter how many times you sample one product, they will give you their best sample and it will be immaculate. But when you bulk buy, different story. The first, I'm actually pretty lucky. The first order that we put through for a specific type of lash was probably 3,000 US, and they stuffed around so bad. They kept sending us the wrong diameter. They kept giving us like a dark blue lash.
So this is about $4,500.
Probably Australian at the time, or maybe
More now. But,
Yeah.
So you received the first sample, all goods. You're like, and that might have been a couple of hundred.
Yep.
And then now you're like $4,500 first order
Yeah.
from a major supplier, and it doesn't come in the way that you had hoped.
horrible. And like, again, maybe I'm just dramatic, but I was like, if this is what's gonna break me, this is it, because that was so much money for me at the time. 100%. And I was like, how can I afford to keep investing when they keep stuffing me around? So that I did not get my money back for that at all. It was such a fight. And I was even doing the most I could do. Like, I was even paying through PayPal. And you know how you get, like, if you buy goods overseas, they will charge you the PayPal fee. It's illegal, but they still do it anyway. They still charge us the PayPal fee, the merchant fee. So even then, that was like the first one where I was like, oh, like, I don't know if I should back out. Like, I can't do this. And the thing is, with every product that you bring to the market, you can't just find a product, sample it, and put it on the shelf. You need to test it on the client. You need to look at the lifetime of how long it will sit on the shelf. You need to see what it will look like as a result when the client comes back 3 weeks later. Like, there's so much trial that you need to do.
And time. This is costing
So
you
much
time.
time. Like, even the most time that we can, I connect best with my suppliers is 2:00 in the morning. Because that's when they're online. That's when they can like
Hitting you up on WhatsApp.
WhatsApp, Alibaba, Instagram.
That's why you're awake so late at night when we message each other. It's like 11:30, midnight. I'm like, why is she up so late?
I know. But like, that's when they're like, that's just part of my job now. Like, I have to be awake at those times because I have to talk to them. The second massive stuff around that I experienced was with a tweezer company in Pakistan. So, I got like all these tweezers specifically made to a certain dimension and tip point that I wanted. And so the thing is, he's like, what is that?
Steve's like, how does that help eyelashes?
No, I get how why it would help. You're asking for a new complete mold on a product.
Yes.
Who told you that you can go and contact other countries and get new molds up, and it's all goods to just give thousands of dollars to overseas? Like,
The limit does not exist.
it
for
does
Luana.
not.
No, but see, you're exactly right. And yes, I kick myself, but I'm telling you, I am the only supplier that has 4 tweezers that were made from scratch. The shape, the tip, the way it bends, the way it picks up the grip, I designed that myself. So I guess I was asking for it then, because that was really hard, because like he would do like a whole batch and they had the perfect curve, the perfect pickup point. But the thing is, with a tweezer, if it does not have a sweet spot that you can pick up an extension, the best way, it will just keep breaking your fan. So now you're going to break product. But that's why it's so important. So yes, I could just go and get the generic Vitas tweezers, but like everyone else is going to sell it. Like, I have to I want to be different. And I know that this specific point will work so good. So I kept holding on to that, and it ended up getting to probably again, maybe 4 is my lucky number, like the $4,000 mark. Again, we were sent 400 tweezers. Was it 400? Maybe 350 to 400 tweezers, all incorrect pickup points. So the thing is, with a tweezer too, like I was saying before, when you're manufacturing a product, you can't just sample it and chuck it out there. You need to test it. You need to trial it. I promise my husband and I would sit there going through every single batch of tweezers, checking that it picks up at the correct point. And probably out of all of those hundreds of tweezers, there was about 30 that picked up correct. So, and the thing is with
We're
that,
now selling tweezers. They're $500 each.
but the thing with that as well is that even to send that package back, that cost me so much money, because the weight of a tweezer, and then there's 400 of them, and then the back and forth, and they just kept getting it wrong and wrong and wrong. And I'm like,
And you also don't know, if you send those back, what if they just stop contacting you?
exactly, because do you know what? Maybe I'm just a bit risky, but the only way you can pay,
Yeah, I would say so.
the only way you can pay this company is through Western Union.
Yeah.
So I can literally flick my money and he can go the next day and not get back. So when I really want to say, oh, how can you get this wrong? You're so stupid. I'm like, sorry, love, you've stuffed it up again. Please resend this. Like, there's so much like.
These are the barriers though. Like, if you want to be first in your space and you want to do it better than other people and you want to go develop your own tweezers, these are the type of barriers that, like, some people are just too scared to even start. And it's just like, yeah, I don't know if you know like how unique you are operating in your space doing this sort of stuff, because it's like this is all stressful like things that you're talking
I
about.
know you can see me getting all worked up about it. Yeah, but like it's just crazy. And like, oh, I can go on all day, but like the supply part is definitely the hardest, but it is the part that I love the most. I guess that is the part that I love the most about my business is the supply, because like we can do so many things. But don't get me wrong, there are so many times where I've shot myself in the foot because I've been traumatized. I'm like, oh, so for example, there was a one trending tweezer that had a really unique grip. It was called a fiber tip grip, and I wanted it for ages, but I'm like, I don't want to go. I'm traumatized. I
I
was
want
like,
to go through the process
I
again.
don't want to go 10 months through this again and then spend all this money and then like he still get it wrong or move suppliers and then they don't understand me or we can't connect well. Because if you don't have good communication with a supplier, it's not going to work. The language barrier is one thing. The second thing is you obviously need to be able to communicate when you're both online. Like if you don't have the good communication with a supplier, it's so much harder. But like even that specific tweezer grip, I wanted to create it for so long. And then everybody else started doing it. And I was like, that was my chance and I let it go. So there's so many times where I've like limited myself because like I've just been a bit traumatized, but definitely it's just all comes down to obviously who wants it more. And I chose to just back down of that one.
Cool. So we've talked about you going and sourcing out different suppliers. Now, you said that when the Queensland beauticians were still able to open up during COVID, that's where the initial orders started coming through. Was this just for a small portion of products, or like how many products did you have available at that time? Was it just the lashes you were selling, and how did the sales then continue as you started to add to your wholesale inventory?
Yeah, so when we launched in 2020, we had only 30 products that we were pumping through because we were very limited. We only specialized in only the extension. We didn't have all little bits and bobs. We had the extensions and we had a glue. I'm sure T knows.
Well, yeah, because the 30,
many.
30 sounded like a lot to me, but this is variations of lashes still?
Yes, but now we're going on to 320 to 350 different variations. T would know because she had to photo shoot all of them.
It's 500 products.
She literally had to photo shoot every tweezer in every color. Yeah, so like it definitely has grown a fair bit. But yeah, we're probably up to around 350 different variations of products.
Wow. There you go. And so you don't have to give us any specific numbers if you don't want to, or if you do, like go for gold. But how does the percentage of your business work out in terms of where the income's coming from? Is it like 50% of profits coming from wholesale, 70% now, or is it still 80% like the retail, actual servicing? How does your business kind of look?
Yeah, so obviously we have the 4 different sectors. So the wholesale, we only mark up 35%, which is actually pretty generous because in most wholesales, you're only meant to mark up a shorter amount. But because we're able to communicate with our suppliers, we're able to get our product down to a really low cost at the moment, which is good. But still, the US dollar always stuffs us around. So our wholesale, we're still marking up at least 30% profit, which is it's still good.
Not bad for wholesale. Yep.
Yeah. And then within our normal online retail, we're going from 50% up. And then our services, after we pay all of our costs and things like that and our employees, we're looking at another 50%.
Okay.
So it's going okay.
So yeah, I wasn't expecting you to give us the markups. But just like so say you made $10,000 a week, is 5,000 coming from wholesale? Is it 50% coming from that one sector, or is it like 25% from each sector that makes up your total income?
So why did I even talk about percentages? Like I know them. So
Well, you clearly do.
yeah, but so like most likely, so for example, obviously everyone has a revenue goal, but I know that within the actual services, I know that they're pulling in at least $9,000 a week. And then when it comes down to online, strictly only online orders, they're pulling in at least 8.
Wow.
And then wholesale, it really varies because most of our wholesale clients buy at the beginning of the month and then they have a 30-day or 25-day pay period.
So you're talking about just the retail level is around 8 per week, or like the other B2B, the businesses that are buying for you is about 8?
So only online ordering is going around there, is going around...
That's your wholesale?
No, wholesale is different. Wholesale is a bit hard because we get it at the beginning of the month.
Yeah, maybe keep that one.
Yeah.
as well, just in case.
Yeah, wholesale is a bit difficult, but within the but then we have the in-store products too, so that's separate. We keep all that separate. So the in-store products is probably where we make the most profit, and that's going like at least 9. That's people
Wow.
coming. But do you know why? No one offers a not service, sorry. No one offers a shop where they can come in and physically touch the product. They can see it. They can ask a certified technician how it works. So we vaguely have that right now. But when we go into our new commercial space, the whole goal is to purposely push through retail. We're going to have the testing station. We're going to have everything laid out, because the last thing people want is to just be like, I love shopping online, but people want to physically come and see their products so they know what they're working with. Like lash technician supplies is very specific, because you want to know, like, if I buy that tweezer, am I going to know how to grip it? Well, at Vanity's new shop, you're going to be able to try it.
And so would you say that you're aware of this barrier that other people are experiencing, because you experience this at the supplier level?
I did.
The same sort of like fear that you've got that it might not turn out exactly how you would hope it would is exactly what the customer's experiencing as well. And like that's another gem for you people. Like if you can understand how it feels to be a customer, you can serve customers better.
100%.
So that's awesome. And so when you said you've got a little bit too much space in this new place, it's because you have like proper aspirations of actually growing these other sectors as well. And so like I think you'll probably use the space quite well. But that's amazing. So I don't want you to share too much about, I guess, your individual revenue, because it might attract a few more competitors for you, which we don't want.
It's all right. We'll all be friends.
They'll be customers. That's a good one. That sounds like an Instagram quote, when your competitors become customers. I like that. So that's amazing. So this is a multi-million-dollar business now.
Yeah, but even when it
She's
comes
about to play it down.
no, but like, you know, the eyelash extension industry right now is with 1.36 billion. In 2028, it's estimated to be 2.8 billion. Like, it is crazy the amount that's up for grabs for people to just like. There's honestly, I'm going to sound like but there's honestly room for everyone to grow. There honestly is, and I think that's why there's so much potential for it to grow too, because like, we're really, when we open up the new shop, we're really going to be pushing the product more. That will then hopefully help us boost online sales, gain people's more confidence, and it will boost everything else around us. So that is the game plan.
Makes sense.
Yes.
And probably the most valuable part of your business, because I know you quickly just said, I've got 6 girls now that can also do the same job. Now, obviously, they've been taught by you, which is why they can do it in a quality manner. But when you're in the retail business and then you've also got the service side of things, the service requires your time, whereas the products can move extremely fast, especially if they're in hot demand. So the profit or the scalability really is in the product side of your business, which you've clearly identified.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like, if it wasn't for the suppliers being as strong, or even perfecting the products to be able to order in such big quantities as well, if it wasn't for that, I wouldn't be so confident in moving to a new commercial space that is 4 times my rent right now. Like, obviously, like, we are relying on the online sales and things like that, but I know it's a strong point within my business as well. Even when it comes down to having the staff members as well, like, the reason why I'm confident within within those staff members is because they've all been trained by me. One of my loyal client of 6 years, it actually happened 2 weeks ago. I was like, oh, I'm not available. Like, I know, but do you want to go with, Monique instead? And they'll be like, yeah, she'll lash the same as you. And then like, she's come back, and then I'm like, hey, are you okay with your lashes? And she's like, yeah, it's the same. I couldn't tell the difference. So like, that to me is,
And it's like, ouch, but also amazing.
Yes, but I'm sure you can agree too. Like, yes, I love servicing the customers, but the more I've actually cut my days down to servicing customers to only clients to only 1 day a week. Yeah. So I'm only working 1 day a week within my business, but then the other 5 days is around my business as well, like working all the little bits and pieces together. So being able to still work on my business and have that flowing is crazy, because in 2017, it was just me. Like, if I didn't work, I didn't get paid. But yeah, having the online sales has been great, because like having an e-com website is making money in your sleep, which is great. I love that.
But your skill sets are growing as you progress in business as well. And hopefully when you're adapting or adopting new skill sets, you're adopting more monetizable skill sets. And so your ability to impart your knowledge into people is one skill set, but also to be able to source products and deliver value to other businesses is another monetizable skill set that probably supersedes the individual servicing of a client. So like it sounds like you're doing exactly what you should be doing, but I assume the day that you're spending still servicing clients is partially because you just want to keep your ear close enough to the ground and maintain that feel of what it is to, I guess, still be at that retail level.
100%.
It's not so much for the individual dollars that you're making from each client.
No, like if I could, well, I can still if I wanted to like do no clients, but I like to be able to still use my product and still know it works. Or every time I get a new product, I'll be like, okay, I'm going to work Tuesday now too because I want to keep testing it out. Like I'm solely in there just to make sure that I know that the business is running. I know that the girls are communicating well. Everyone's happy. That's the main reason why I stick around to micromanage everyone.
And this is one of those like situations where like that qualitative data is so much more than the quantitative. So the numbers that she's able to attract just by servicing a single client is almost as bad as it's going to sound. It's kind of irrelevant to the business. Like the $100, $150 that you might earn in that hour space, it doesn't really make sense that you're still doing that. But the qualitative side of it is that not only are you able to connect with your team, you're able to connect with customers, you're able to see if the product that you're selling in large amounts is still working, but it's keeping you, I guess, at the heartbeat of the business, which is like that's extremely valuable because often like when you grow in business and you start moving those products, because that is the scalable part of your business, you can lose touch and you can only want to hear the quantitative data, like how much are our margins improved, are we hitting the right sales targets, and it's like, yeah, but you're still on the ground, you still really get it. And it allows you to adapt quickly. So if you start hearing customer feedback, or if something's, like say some of your suppliers start deteriorating their quality because they want to improve margins on their end, you can pick up a lash and be like, this isn't the same. And then you can make the change, and you can make the change fast. And that like level of operating is extremely valuable. All of a sudden the quantitative side actually makes sense. So yeah, you're really operating at a really impressive level. Like you've implemented a lot of like very like important components to your business. So that's amazing. I did want to ask one other question around your ability to mitigate risk as you make the next jump. So we discussed in one of the other podcasts, when we had the meal prep business and we'd open up a new retail location, it gave us a chance at another income stream for that particular spot. And the likely revenue that we'd make from the meals moving into a new spot would usually offset the entire cost of the rent that was associated with that location. Because you have 4 parts to your business, I assume you're using similar thought patterns. When you move into a bigger location, all of a sudden that you've got a storage area because you're increasing the size of your orders. You've got a place where you can potentially do photo shoots. You've got room for more beds. You've got room for more retail like spaces. But the overall rent that you're paying, which is still 4 times the amount what you're currently paying, is offsetted by mitigating the risk through the other service offerings. So that's another really important skill in business. When you make that jump, of course, you want to make sure there's enough revenue, there's enough like volume coming through the pipeline. But if you're able to reduce risk at the same time because of other service offerings or other income streams, as you said, it makes it feel a whole lot less risky. And when there's less risk, there's less stress. And when there's less stress, usually you can be more optimal, unless you're just someone that likes to operate under a huge amount of stress for long periods of time.
No thanks.
So yeah, that's another thing that you've, I guess, implemented in your business, which is a really good sign. And when you start mentoring other people, and I'm hoping if you move into the franchise model, which I certainly think is like on the cards for you, whether it's one sector of your business that you franchise or the whole thing, I think that's thought patterns for another time. But because you've got these core components there, you've actually got value that you're offering. There's actually like translatable value to other people. So that's like, it's a super impressive thing. Can you speak to, I guess, that mitigating the risk as you made each jump? In your mind, how did you kind of see the risk? Like you're just about to take on 4 times the amount of rent. Why not just open 3 other locations at a smaller level of rent and potentially increase your footprint? Why do you feel like this is actually the best way to go?
Yeah, so I feel like it's the best way to go because I know what I can handle right now. I would love to open up 3 different small sectors. But I know for a fact that, and I'm being completely honest, our policies and procedures, they're not intact. Yes, the business can still move when I'm not there, but I want it to be at a point where they can order without me. They know when something's not wrong without me. I need the team to be a lot more stronger. I need the amount of shipments that we're getting coming in on time, because that's another big problem at the moment. I need everything to flow in a space where, I know this sounds so drastic, but if I was to disappear tomorrow, it would still run. At that point, we definitely are there, but I need it to be like perfect to the point where I'm confident. So I wouldn't even have to maybe even be in there at all. So it is definitely something that I would have loved to do, because there will be like less risk involved. But I know that if I go all in right now, I need to see what we can do within this space before I make the next move. Like it would be a lot less money involved as well, but I need to niche down with the team. I need to niche down with the policies and procedures before I move forward on that. That's what I believe within my business.
That's perfect. Yeah. So you want to be moving from a position of strength, but the other part is you've got enough self-awareness to know what needs to be optimized before you conduct some larger rollout. So optimizing what you have before jumping into the next thing, which is, again, like, if we can redefine entrepreneurship like amongst the small business space, this is the characteristics that would separate an entrepreneur from an owner. An owner may just see, each new venture as another profitable situation that they're going into. That they won't think, how can I implement systems so that if I disappear, this thing still runs? How can I optimize things without me being the one doing the work? It is a very different pattern of thinking, and you usually come to very different conclusions. I think you've had obviously an amazing journey up until where you are now, and you're just about to launch your first retail site, which is happening in August.
Yes, August, if no more cocktail bombs when I come in there and ruin my life.
100%. And yes. So what does this look like? Have you prepared a launch? Like how are we sitting?
So at the moment, what we're really trying to do is get through all the roadblocks. Like I'm telling you, if I could back out right now, no, I'm kidding. No, but this commercial space, honestly, again, could be the death of me. There has been so many issues with it. When people take photos on Instagram and they get their first shop and they're smiling with the keys, they're ripping the lease sign off. That was not what happened with me. I was walking in there and I was like, damn, we're going to have to gut this place. There's a mold infestation happening in that corner there. The people that we're next to keep fighting about car parking. It's a hot mess. So even just dealing with that made me just be like,
do I want this stress? I'm making proper coin. Why do I need this? Exactly.
Half of me, honestly, and I don't mind saying this out loud, I just thought, you know what? Let's knock down the granny flat at home again and let's just go. Let's just go from home. I'm going to minimize all this rent. I'm going to get rid of this. There's going to be more parking. All my clients will be happier. I'm closer to home. I might just go back home. But by doing that commercial space, it really helped me think, how am I going to be able to still do this and still push the same amount of money through? So when we renovated that commercial space, all these things went wrong, and it's still going wrong even now. We couldn't lay the floors down because of the mold. We can't even turn the hot water on because I'm not a plumber, but there's something in there, the water's too hot. The toilets are absolutely disgusting. The window's broken. There's so many things that we need to do to be able to get this commercial space up and running. But once we do, the plan is, so we're going to have retail at the front, strictly only retail. And then towards the back, we're going to have all of our lash rooms happening. The launch that I'm looking for, and I obviously need help with from a lovely lady over here, is we honestly need help with pushing that we are the only people that offer the inside retail. So within Australia, there's one company in Perth that offer a showroom. There's no one else in Sydney that offers a showroom. So being able to do the showroom, we obviously need to launch it and advertise it. So after all of the renovations hopefully go well, I'm now asked T to take over our social media because it's been a bit of a hot mess with all these people coming into our page and doing the wrong things and just reusing content. It hasn't been the best. So we've teamed up with T to just help us boost our pages a little bit more. But the launch definitely will be happening in August, and we hope to transition ASAP. So we're still going good for August at the moment.
That's amazing. Did you want to maybe chime in, T, now that you've been introduced into the conversation?
Yeah, hi.
So did you maybe want to give some insights around the website that you had done for Luana?
Oh, yeah. So for people listening, the way that we met you is you reached out to Steve because you were doing business consulting with a third party, I think last year, I think it was, yeah.
Sorry, yeah, I'm cutting you off right as I asked you to speak. So just to give maybe a comparison. So when I first met you, I was just like, this chick's pretty switched on, but she's definitely a hot mess right now. Like,
And did I not say that in all my messages?
It was your
I was
opening
like,
message.
listen, this is going to be messy, but I need you, but help. Like, it was messy.
how have you just grown a huge amount since we've last spoke because of what you've encountered in business, or were you really the same Luana, but then you had all the same skill sets, you were just a hot mess? Because I feel like you've actually really grown in like business acumen since we last talked.
Oh, thank you. No, so like even at that time when we first spoke, I know I need the help that we need to be able to move forward, for Vanity to move forward, but I just knew it wasn't the right time. And like I've even mentioned to you before, I'm like, hey, you and me, we're going to tee up soon, but I need to get this commercial space sorted first. So Luana is still a hot mess. Maybe she covers it up a bit more. No, but like eventually when I first reached out to you, I knew that my business needed to go in so many different ways, but I needed to get my ducks in a row before I just add another one in.
Yep.
And that's probably still the case now at the moment, but yes.
So you still had all the same visions. You were very much on top of your game. It just, you're a hot mess. It didn't seem that way.
Yeah, well,
Wow. Okay.
yeah.
There you go. Because I'm just like, I feel like I'm talking to a different Luana.
Oh,
but
thanks.
you're under a whole bunch more stress, and you're faring
Just
well.
composing myself a bit better, maybe.
Sorry, T. So you started doing the website for Luana.
Yeah, so after our business consulting, you pretty much messaged me and said, can you just redo my website because it's a hot mess? And I was like, yeah, cool. Like I've already got the vision for it. And I showed you and you were like, yes, this is what I want. So we took product photos. We put a pre-order button in because like you said, the shipment time from ordering from your supplier to when it actually arrived in shop, there was a delay, but you still wanted to make sales. So we just implemented like different things on the website that would still increase sales. And yeah, I assume it's been working well.
Yeah, it has. So I really needed T to just do the website because I knew it was a lacking point within my business. Like, yeah, it was there, but it was a bit outdated and it was pretty much DIY myself in COVID.
You can have like multiple facelifts to websites as the business grows, and however I guess the trends behind an industry move. But because I wasn't involved in this process, but I assume that the back end, like adding those buttons in, the functionality of a website can be extremely important, especially when you have, was it 353?
Yeah, we're up to 350 now.
Yeah.
So when T comes back and does more products, she's just going to be like, oh my goodness.
So yeah, your back end has to be in check because it can really affect how much money you can make. And as you said, like a more seamless website, like friction on websites massively dictates like how easy it is to make sales.
And that's the approach that we took. I pretty much just sat down with you one day and you were like, this is how a customer buys. And we made the website look like how a customer would buy. So like you said, reducing the friction. But then when you open up your showroom and your retail spot, then that's when the branding for that shop will have to reflect what the website looks like as well. So that's when you would need another facelift so everything's congruent.
That's awesome.
Exactly. We definitely need T to come in there and whip it all up.
That's very cool. And so what's next for Vanity Lashes? We obviously have the retail space. Are you going to be focusing on, by the sounds of it, the retail product side of things? And so just to clarify, this is direct to consumer, or the retail side is actually going to be a walk-in area so other businesses can buy off you essentially?
Yes.
Okay. So it's the wholesale retail section in your new shop. Okay.
Yes.
Beautiful. Is there anything else you wanted to add, TT?
Oh, this is a question that we try and ask everyone. What's a piece of advice that someone gave you that was completely wrong when it came to like your business? Because everyone likes to give out, business advice at like family barbecues, or they see what you're doing and they're like, oh, you should do this. What was like one of the worst pieces of advice that anyone ever gave you? And you're like, that's wrong.
Yeah, well, look, I even hear it today. Like even 6 years in, I still get it. But like one of the pieces of advice that I got that was definitely untrue, but I didn't even take it anyway, I just already knew it wasn't true, was that extensions are a fad. They were always like, you know what, this isn't like, why would you leave your full-time corporate role and try to do something that people haven't done before? Like, it's a bit silly. Have a casual job, have this. if I had listened to any advice that someone had given me, there is no way I would be as confident in my brand. But because I've seen the brand from the start up, I know my brand back to front. I know that it can work and I know it can go so much further. But even in saying that, I do have thick skin. It takes a lot for someone to influence me out of a decision I've already made. But I just felt that really to be untrue, because I think they were very limited to what they knew and to what actually my industry involved, which is I'm sure people, and they say it all the time, don't you just stick things on people's eyelashes all day? And I'm like, yeah, that's what I do. But they just were very inconsistent with understanding what I could do within the one business.
I've got to be honest, like that would have been me. And it's just like, I feel like I've talked to a lot of different businesses, but if you were like, hey, should I move into a commercial space where I'm taking on 4 times the amount of rent? I'd be like, this thing's about to end. Like, what are we talking about? And you're saying the forecasting is to double like the size of the industry. It's pretty amazing. And even as we said, even if there was a technological advancement where you could have amazing like stick-on lashes for a portion of the price, which did affect it, you've already diversified across so many segments, and you'd be the one like supplying all the other people anyway.
Exactly.
So like whether like it changes or not, but clearly it sounds like it's probably not going to change because of the intricacy of what the technicians are doing. But yeah, it's crazy. Like when you have your own self-belief, which is like a super important trait for like an entrepreneur to have, but you have your own market context, sometimes like general business advice is not going to be actually too applicable because you have an insight that other people just don't have. And like sometimes that's what niches are about. Like lashes are a niche within the overall beauty industry. I can understand the need for makeup or whatever it may be. Like that makes sense to me. But for lashes, I was just like, but really, like $150 like for a lash session? And obviously this thing is growing way beyond like, and I'm more than happy to say like some of our retail stores are not doing the numbers that you're doing. And it's just like, I would have said the sports supplement space would have been easier to grow and hopefully easier to sell more. And she's like out here smashing it in something that I would have not predicted, but you had a vision to see this come through like way before, you know, a lot of other people. So yeah, it's impressive. I think you're doing an amazing job.
Thank you.
And I now respect lashes way more than what I had initially done. But it's true. Like, yeah, I'm going to be honest, right? Like, and you're obviously seeing the benefit of seeing things that other people haven't seen.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool. That's good advice. It's taking from what taking something from what people are saying, and then I guess
You two can conversate because I've got no idea.
It's like you take it in.
yeah, you take it in and then you like spit it back out in a usable form. It's like you take what's usable.
What's this word? It's annoying.
I feel like it starts with T, but I'm not 100%
Is it?
sure.
It's not translate.
It translates kind of like it, right?
It's like you It's like you.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but that's
It's
okay.
like when you.
We'll cut this section out.
Yeah.
So that's a pretty crazy like story. And I know that once you open up your retail space, we probably would have you on again just to talk about like the growth that I know that you're going to have in your retail space. So you're expecting to open in August, hopefully, if things go right from here on.
Yes.
And if you're listening to this and you're a lash artist or you want to follow Luana or check out her products, then we'll make sure we'll link all of her stuff in this episode below. And thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Cut.
I need to find that word.